Let me introduce you to my panelists tonight, and right next to me is Sabina Shege. She is the women's representative in Murang'a County and has been a media personality and practitioner. Not too long ago, she was actually on radio with her good voice. Thank you for joining us this evening. Patrick Gadhara has been a regular here on the show. He is a cartoonist and a columnist, and you see a lot of his contributions in terms of critiquing the media and as well as the national issues that are developing. And next to him is Dr. Tom Wolf, and he is a research analyst at Ipsos. And next to him is Macharia Gaido, independent journalist and currently based in at our elections desk here at the Nation Media Group. Now, there has been a lot of reaction to the Madaraka Day celebrations this past week. The take-home, however, it would seem, was the fact that the opposition leader, or you may call him NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga, was not given the opportunity to speak at the national function, nor was he acknowledged. Was this an issue blown out of proportion by the media, or was it a big issue in and of itself? And the first, I'm just going to make reference to the Taifa Leo cover page, front page, June 2nd, and it says Raila Ameza Mate Nyeri. And of course, this also was probably say translated by The Star on June 2nd, Uhuru snubs Raila at Madaraka feat. And of course, even Macharia Gaido here on the panel had one or two things to say about this, and it being a missed opportunity for a sense of fostering unity within the country. Why did you say that in your article?
I think you may have seen the kind of debate that arose during and after that event. So people did expect that the very fact that Raila was going to attend Madaraka Day, that it would be an opportunity for both him and the president to show the nation that it's just politics, that they're not enemies, that they recognize each other and acknowledge each other. As simple as that. I had actually said it even before the snub, that this will be a good opportunity. Unfortunately, they did not listen. Okay.
Was it deserving of this kind of coverage? I'd ask you, Sabina, because you were there actually, and there was a lot of hue and cry as well as, you know, during the time when there was some use of vernacular language while this is a national function. But first of all, at the face of it, the focus it got from media, was it deserving?
I don't think it was, because I want to tell Gaido that the president and also Raila have met in several occasions. They have met in funerals, they have met in church functions. And I don't think that was the only opportunity that they had to meet. Secondly, if you look at the people who were actually recognized, we had several cabinet secretaries, we had visitors who had come. I was there, I was not recognized. I might be nobody in Kenya. But the whole thing that he was there, not recognized. The cabinet secretaries were there. Speaker of the National Assembly, who is that from the president, was there. Nobody recognized him. And I think Kenyans just blew it out of proportion. And I want also to blame the media. The photo that you have just shown here, I think the Taifa Leo was better because he showed Raila smiling. The one that you showed that he was snubbed, it looked terrible. That one is better, he's smiling. And yes. I don't think he looks like somebody who was actually snubbed. He looked like he was enjoying himself on that day.
He was in conversation. Probably he was following some of the entertainment.
Exactly. Yes. And so we were all Kenyans. We went there, and it was not about us. It was about the nation. It was about the celebration of Madaraka Day. And I think the only person who got the opportunity to speak was the president, the deputy president, and of course the governor who was welcoming the president. Right. I don't see it as a big deal. He has several other occasions that they can meet. I think he has also been invited to State House several times, and they have met in various occasions. Right. And I don't think that translates, whether he was introduced or not. It doesn't translate to us Kenyans. And I want to go to a point that you have touched about the use of vernacular language. Mm-hmm. And I think we need, as Kenyans, to start appreciating our diversity. And when it was Machakos and we had people who spoke in Kamba, it was not a big deal. And I don't know why it became Tunyeri, and when people spoke in vernacular language, people started like discussing it and even calling it Russia or whatever it was. But the thing is, we are different. We have 43 tribes. We should be enjoying and actually celebrating our diversity instead of bringing that diversity to bring hatred or to see like these people didn't deserve to do what they did.
All right, but at a national function, it would be expected to use a national language. But let me throw this as well to Patrick Gadhara as we read some of the reactions. Maina Wamboi says, as usual, the media exaggerated the so-called snub. When will we ever learn? What's your opinion?
Well, I think I agree with Macharia that it was a missed opportunity. And in as much as Sabina says that there's been, these guys I've met before, we've seen them pictures laughing at State House, you know, Raila saying that they are good friends and stuff. We are in an electoral season, and the mood does get quite polarized in this season. And I think it's incumbent upon the president, on whom actually the Constitution vests the responsibility to essentially unify, to become a symbol for the unity of the nation, to take whatever opportunities come his way to unite people, to bring them together, to show that yes, we are going into an election, and yes, we will have many reasons to sort of speak against one another, but still we are one family and we are one, you know, we are one people. Yes. And I think by just recognizing that, it would have cost him nothing, you know, for him to do that. On the issue of vernacular, again, it's not so much that there's something intrinsically wrong with speaking in Kikuyu, you know, or speaking in Kamba or Luo. It's recognizing the scenario, the place, the context you're in, and the context the country is in. And I think, in a sense, when people start saying, but they did this in Machakos, they are missing the wider point. The fact is, there are people who feel alienated by this.
Yes.
And instead of sort of starting to put them down or to say their feelings don't have basis, it's to recognize them and to ask, all right, what can we do to assuage these people and to get them included?
Okay.
Just to recognize here. First of all, let's recognize that this was the last national day before the elections.
Right.
Secondly, this was not some funeral or private party or church function. It was a national event. Raila is not just the ODM leader or any other politician. He is also a former prime minister, and he enjoys certain state privileges because of that position. I don't think if Kibaki had come there, would he have been snubbed or ignored or completely? No.
At least acknowledged.
And yet, in the pecking order, they enjoy an almost equal status. Of course, Raila is a bit odd because he enjoys the benefit of a retired leader, but yet he's still an active politician. But as long as he has not been deprived of that position of ex-prime minister, as long as you cannot fail to recognize the pivotal role he still plays in Kenyan politics, you cannot presume that you can compare him with any other nominated MP or somebody like that. Secondly, the issue of language, again, it is a matter of not just the language, but the message. We can expect that when Madaraka Day or Jamhuri Day goes to Turkana or Samburu or Narok, we will expect to see some local language and some local culture, and we will celebrate it. But if it is a message which is a message of exclusion rather than a message of inclusion, if it is political messages being sent, if that event is going to be turned into a village political rally, then there's a problem.
Right. Let me throw this, just before, Sabina, you respond, just because Tom has been quiet. Respond to this, Tom, as you give your opinion. Timothy Malusi says, yes, it was a missed opportunity, but you snub Raila and he makes news. Allow him to speak and he still makes news.
Well, there may be some people who know, but I certainly don't have any idea what the former Prime Minister would have said had he been invited to speak. I'm, without any information, intrigued by the just consideration of how much thought was there within State House or the Jubilee campaign think tank, for that matter, about this issue. Did it never occur to them after the invitation to Raila had been given that if he comes and he's not asked to speak, it might get a lot of attention? Or was this thought all the way through in advance and things came out just the way they had expected and perhaps hoped? I don't know if they've done any sort of cost-benefit analysis of this incident afterwards. But given the fact we've heard so much both in the last election and now the use by Jubilee at least of public relations campaign strategist of an international level, right, it would surprise me if this wasn't considered to some degree before the event. And I have to agree with Macharia that Mr. Odinga is not just the holder, I mean, a retired senior official in the government, but he's also a candidate in this election. And clearly, you don't have to look at our polls to know the races between these two individuals. And I would have thought, just from the point of view of a kind of a national cohesion perspective, having him there, just for the president, not necessarily to say, give Mr. Odinga a microphone, but say, we're really happy and pleased that a national day we have so-and-so with us, yes, and let's give him, you know, makofi kidogo. I mean, just to make it, as Macharia is saying, more inclusive, without maybe inviting some kichangio that might be off message, yeah, or something. But as I say, my main curiosity, just from the point of view of campaign tactics and public relations, what was the inner thinking? And it's up to you people in journalism to do some investigation and tell us what was the internal debate or discussion, if there was one.
All right. Mheshimiwa Sabina, Junior Losiwatudo says there wasn't anyone other than the deputy and president who can equal to Raila. Sabina Chege can't compare to him. That was outright wrong. And then Zab says that event kind of made us think that it's 42 versus 1 tribe.
I want to ask actually the percentage of the language, local language that was used, because the bit that came in is when there was entertainment. Right. And a lot of entertainment was very local. And actually even the two presenters who actually spoke in local language mixed it with a lot of Swahili. Macharia mentioned about some political words that were there, that were used, you know, like in the local language. I doubt whether there was something like that. Those were introducing the local musicians who were there. And what percentage of the local language was used? Again, as I said, I have nothing against Raila, but he came in like anybody else. I said the Speaker of National Assembly, who is Justin Muturi, was there. He's number 3. You can also not assume Speaker of National Assembly was not recognized. So why is it a big deal?
The acknowledgement.
Yeah, you know, the acknowledgement. And number 2, as you said, if he was given a chance, even recognized, he would have made news. Now he was not given a chance. He was, you know, he still made news. So I don't think there's a big deal.
There could have been some positive news.
But the thing is, but the thing is, as I said, this is not the first time that the former Prime Minister and the President have shared a platform. Yes, it is the last major national function. But again, was this a political function, or was it meant to be a national function as it is? So why did we take it? Why do we want to read too much? He was there, he was meant to be recognized. Really, I don't think
the messaging,
exactly. Did the president actually refer anything to Raila when he was there? I think he kept to his
because it is not a political function, it's a national function that you recognize him. But when you run it as if it's your own shop, then you've got a problem. And I think that, again, it shouldn't be about, how many, what percentage was in Kikuyu and what percentage. There has been views expressed, and I think it's incumbent upon a responsible government to look at it and say, people do have certain misgivings about how a national function was carried out. Okay. You know, it costs. It's not so much that you should take it as all these guys are ganging up against it. But recognize that there's a grievance being expressed, and then ask, what do we do about it? Okay. What do we learn from it?
On the issue of the vernacular language being used, and Gather, you're on the elections desk, there must be some policy that guides media houses, especially now that there will be campaign rallies and there's national language being used and then they switch into vernacular. Is there a policy to say that we should probably switch from that?
It becomes very tricky when you're showing an event live and the switch to the vernacular. Because first of all, your readers, your viewers, the majority of your viewers will be lost. They will not know what is going on. Secondly, your editor might be lost. He may not know what is being said. And if somebody starts talking some stuff which is objectionable, he will not be able to switch off.
But was there any objection?
No. I'm just talking about the principle of national language. Right. When you're dealing with a national on live TV, a national broadcast, it becomes tricky because you don't know what is being said. And you don't know if somebody comes and says something objectionable, which needs to be switched off.
Okay. And your last
But
word
on that I was asking, was there anything that was said objectionable? I don't think so. I was there. I don't think so. Number two, I asked, these people were introducing the local musicians. There was also the issue of the local people who had come and were in numbers. And the kind of percentage that they used to mix the two languages, you know, they used Swahili, a bit of some English, and I think the Kikuyu was on the lower level. And again, I want to ask this question. We are talking about National Day, and we are celebrating our diversity. So should we be bashed? Is the Kikuyu language part of the
that is
people
no,
who are
that is exactly what I said.
Yeah.
We can expect that when we go to Turkana or Samburu or Isiolo or wherever, there will be a celebration of that diversity, but in such a way that it does not alienate others.
Right.
Now, in fact, a lot of the reactions were not about the dancing and all that. It was about the speech from the governor of Nyeri. He was the host, making an official introduction, so to speak, and he speaks in the vernacular, and he addresses not the nation,
I think with the governor,
but the local voters.
I want to say something about the governor, because for the governor it was special. Initially, when he took to the podium, he actually made it a direct address to the people of Nyeri. And he actually asked them, what do you want me to tell the president? Then he switched back and started speaking English. Now, when he came about the political bit, that was the last bit. I want to sympathize with him because those were his people. And majority of them would not understand any other language. I want to say he was also excited that the president was actually at his home ground. And a lot of people were excited. So initially,
this is where you don't get it. This is where you don't get it. The majority of people watching were not those 10,000 in the stadium.
But what percentage?
It could be millions watching on TV.
I think
as we conclude on this one.
No, very quickly, I think there is a misconception here. First idea that the majority of the people watching would not have understood another language, I think is probably untrue. You know, I think lots of them do understand Swahili, lots of them do understand English, you know, and it's not the case that when national functions are held in these two languages that these people don't know what's being said. The second thing is, even within his own county, you know, given that Kenya has been this mash pot for 50 years, people have been moving about, it is conceivable that many of his own constituents, many of the people who live in Nyeri, some of them don't know Kikuyu and Kikuyus, you know. And this idea that because a majority are, therefore you can ignore that minority is for me problematic.
You know, he didn't ignore everybody. And I want to say it was at the beginning of his speech that he actually, I think it was Nelson Mandela who said when you speak to with the local language, you speak to the people's heart. And I think the governor was excited. And he directed the whole, you know, message.
The governor was excited. And lost himself for a while.
So I'm not sure if you have the last word on this before. All right.
And the benefit of that, he came back and addressed the people in English.
All right. Calvin says Kenyan media can really major on minor issues and vice versa. This Raila snub was sensationally reported to an illogical end. Jeremiah Karaoke says, actually Zab says, is it too hard for in reference here, this Jubilee lady, and that is Sabina Chege, to accept that it was a mistake? Move on from that topic. Okay, we're moving on. I've heard you out. Thank you for that.